Welcome back, bitches. I don't know if this actually is going to sound good, but we'll see. I am so excited for this episode. This is another little kind of sassy ass, kind of just Ashley shooting the shit episode, but I'm going to be talking about moving in with a boy. Now, here's the thing is I don't know what to expect and I don't really know what information you guys want to know. So I have no idea if this episode is going to be really insightful or really interesting. But I did want to give you guys some behind the scenes on what we're doing together, how we made the decision to move in together. I also want to talk a little bit about finances and how we're making decisions, because I do think a lot of people that are thinking about moving in together are looking at this through the lens of how do we combine our assets? How do we make decisions together? And honestly, combining your life with someone is a lot of stress. And I want to give a different perspective on it that I don't think people have talked about enough and I've never seen content around. So if you guys have ever thought about moving in with a partner, if you guys want the tea of how Brendan and I are navigating this next chapter together, then this episode is for you. I hope you enjoy. So the boy, if you guys are coming from part one of my kind of welcome to Chicago, I'm moving, life is changing, things are pivoting series, then you will know that I have decided to move in with my boyfriend. Well, I'm going to take that back because I actually feel like this sense of I'm moving in with someone is dictating I'm moving into their space. Brendan is moving from his space. I am moving from my space, and we are moving to Chicago together. So I have been in a relationship now for a little over a year, about a year and a half actually now. And it's really, I think it's kind of funny because I don't feel like this is that quick. I don't know what the judgment's going to be about my timeline or anything else because Britney Spears was married for 35 hours or something. People all have their own situations. But for me, I've always pretty much said that when I find the right person, I will probably know immediately. And I don't necessarily think that that's our situation. I kind of rejected him for 4 months because I have always been single. I don't need a man, woman. I started 2024 in this sense of I'm very excited to be single. I want to travel more. I want to do more things. I really did not want to date. And he kind of pivoted my plan. And then in the kind of the process of deciding what our next chapter was, we've, talked about what does that look like? What's the right next step? We had talked about moving in together, what does that look like? But when Chicago came, it almost I don't want to say required us to make that decision, but it definitely put that in the forefront of, hey, we're making this decision together. And, it made sense, right? Because I did not have to move just because he had a promo opportunity. He also didn't have to look at the promo opportunity. So we kind of decided together at that time, you know what, you're going to take this promo. I'm going to take the leap to move because I want to move. And the timeline works. And so Chicago is very expensive. So I guess financially it's a nice thing to have someone there. And I'm not, naive to the fact that for my entire life, I've always done it on my own. I bought 2 houses 100% on my own. I had to get approved on my own. I had to, pay for it on my own. I've never had any financial help on any of my investments. And so, I've always done it alone. So when I went and we decided to move to Chicago, I wanted to get approved on my own. That was very important to me that I made enough income to get approved for wherever we moved. So that was extremely important to me that I was able to do that. And obviously we did this together, but that was something that we decided. So that was a really big thing. That was kind of our first finance talk actually is, we were starting this process and we were looking at apartments. And the thing about Brendan and the thing about, I think about a lot of people is they don't like to buy overly expensive things. I've just noticed that most people don't spend $5K on a piece of furniture. Most people don't want to buy things that, stretch them financially. A lot of people want good enough to get them through. And I think with a lot of living situations, most people have never spent 400, 500, 600K, $1 million on real estate by the time that they're in their 30s. And therefore thinking about an apartment, you're thinking, something reasonable, something good. And when I went into this buying process, I went into a very different range as far as what I was looking for. And that was not something that Brendan wanted to do. So kind of the first thing I wanted to talk about is how did we decide on our space? Because to be very transparent, I chose it. And that was something that was very kind of, I don't want to say uncomfortable at first, but when we were making this decision, I pretty much said, if you are not in the picture, this is what I would do without you. So this is what I want to do with you. Are you cool with that? And a lot of people ask about, like, not like it's anyone's business, but like splitting rent or doing everything, whatever. I wanted to make a decision for myself that I could do without him because one, I've always taught myself to protect myself financially. I think all the women, you should think about that in life. It's not about not trusting that person or thinking that you guys are going to break up or whatever else. I just always wanted to make the financial decision that I could do without someone, because for the horrible potential of like, we don't work out, I don't want to then have to change my situation because that other piece of the situation fell off. Like, if that piece falls off, that piece is going to fall off, but that should not dictate what I'm doing. Therefore, I wanted to make a decision where it was like based on my finances, my situation, and I could do it on my own. And when I picked this place, it was very much because it had a walk-in closet. It had the space I wanted. It felt like the right thing for me. And what Brendan and I decided to do together in kind of the decision making on that was I chose what I felt like was good. And he could say, you know, yes, or he could say no. And if he said no, I would accept that. And if he said yes, then that was gonna be good. And what was really interesting is this was kind of the first big round of decisions we had to make when we chose the place, is he doesn't care as much as I do. Therefore, it actually was very positive for him that I could lead on these decisions and he could just say like, check the box. And so what I told him is I said, you know, when we're making this decision, I want to be able to afford it on my own. Obviously, we're partners in this, so I want to like divide it in a way that feels good. But there was like zero issue. And that was so exciting for me because this was something that could be very heavy. He could have a lot of opinions on it. And it was something that we just decided together, like, hey, this feels good for us. Like, let's do it. And, you know, like, let's test that out. So that was like super, super smooth. Same with like location. He, I think, would have probably chose something different if I was not in the picture. And I really felt strongly on X, Y, and Z. And he's like, I don't feel that strongly on it. Let's freaking do it. So it was very almost crazy enough, like in the beginning part of this process, we just kind of didn't fight or disagree on anything. There's certain things that I'm very particular about that he doesn't give a shit about. Also, there were certain things that he cared about that I took into consideration with this move. So, oh my gosh, I was like, what is that? Something's touching me. It's the fucking pillow. See, I'm like in a haunted house now or something because people know that I'm leaving. So the spirits are arriving back. The one thing that was very important to him is his dog, Winnie. So Brendan has a dog, and let me tell you, the dog situation, it's been a thing. So I have been working very hard over the last basically 6 or 7 months to get acclimated to the dog. If any of you guys know me, my relationship with pets has pretty much been like treating them like humans. So like if I see a dog or an animal, I'm like, hello dog, like nice to meet you. Like I don't know what to do. Like I'm like very confused. I've never had a pet, never done anything with pets. Pretty much think that they make absolutely no sense. I know that cat people are always like, but cats don't do anything. Right, so like I don't understand the point. No offense, cat people. But like dogs take time. You have to take them out in the cold. Like I'm like, I don't understand really either one. But like one makes no sense because it just lays there. Like what's the point? And like goes to the bathroom in your place. And the second one, you have to like actively like keep alive. I'm just like, I don't get it. So anyway, both like spectrums of this pet situation confused the fuck out of me. And I remember very much thinking last year, I really hope that this dog like has a short life because like I'm not gonna be able to do this. And I have struggled with the dog, and therefore if I wouldn't have put in the work with the dog the last couple months, because I was like, you know, we're gonna probably move in together in the next year at some point. Like that was kind of the plan for like a year or so, or really truly what the plan was is in a year when we moved to Chicago. At that point we would have been dating by 2 years, and like we would be ready for that. And then I would maybe hate the dog a little bit less and it would be a little bit older. So the fact that the dog is young, 2.5, and we were doing this together now, I was like, oh my God. So anyway, thank God that a couple months ago, I was like, you know what? I should start to like not hate this dog so much. And I've taken her on walks. I've had her in my home several times. I put her in my car once. Like I've tried really hard with this dog, and we've definitely gotten in a better spot. So the one thing that he was very adamant about is like, I want a walkable area for the dog and I want it to be, you know, dog friendly. And so that was actually, funny enough, one of the things that I had to do in this criteria process was I basically chose all my top, and anything that didn't meet that, I just had to take off of the list. And you know what this reminds me of so much is when I was going to Vegas for my 30th birthday, I remember I had 20 restaurants that I wanted to go to, and 3 of the women that were coming were vegetarian. And so when you go to steakhouses in Vegas, like very bougie ones, they don't have any non-steak options. Like it's all either steak or sides. Like there's no pastas or anything else. So I had this list of 20 restaurants, and literally it was like top 1 off the list, top 2 off the list, The first 15 options, you guys, had to be removed from the list, and I had to choose from my bottom 5 options, and I just chose the best out of the bottom 5 options in order to go to a restaurant, right? And I felt like the same thing with apartments. Thank God, though, my top choice also was dog friendly and also has a 3,000 square foot dog park for the dog in the building. And so it actually, again, like it worked out perfectly because I really was willing to give up everything I wanted. Like, it's like if you want the Lexus with the blah, blah, blah interior, I got like the Lexus with the blah, 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 like whatever. That's how I felt like I was doing this in this process is I got to basically say like, this is my list. This is where I think we should live. I will knock off everything off the list until we get to the best option that meets everything I want, that also fits like the criteria you did. I don't know if this is how everyone else decides. I don't know if someone's gonna be like, that pussy bitch, like she let this boy choose. I don't know. I don't know how anyone's going to feel about this, but it felt really good for me and it felt really good for him. And the fact is that everything that he wanted fit in my dream situation. And so it worked out perfectly. I don't know how I'd feel if it didn't work out perfectly. I was super adamant, but I had criteria I wanted. I had criteria here I wanted. We picked the best of the best situation. And I'm so freaking happy about it. So that was important to him. The other thing that was very important to me is that it was very close to the highway so that Brendan could get to work easily because he has a commute now. And same thing, checked the box there. And so I don't know if this is just like the world telling me that I was like meant to move in with this boy and meant to like move to Chicago. And like, honestly, everything's working so well that I'm like, I don't know if anything could have worked easier. But that has been like super, super exciting. So far in this whole process, we are feeling very good about everything that we're doing. We love our building. We're super excited for Winnie and her situation. I kind of even like the dog now. That's changed in the last like 3 or 4 weeks. I'm like, I look at her and I'm like, you know what? Like, I kind of like this dog. And then I like freak the fuck out. Anyway, so the dog situation's good. And so now we're thinking, okay, now that we've like chosen our place, we're moving in, like, what does that look like? So I want to talk a little bit about our decision-making process and stuff, because here's the thing that can be really hard, I think, in relationships that I'm figuring out. I don't want to say if I've dictated, I'm figuring out is when you have two people that has different priorities, I can think something makes a lot of sense and he can look at it and be like, I don't want that. So the way that we typically handle things is when I really believe in something, it has to be something that I would be willing to do on my own without him if he doesn't care. An example of this. Brendan does not really care a lot about furniture. He doesn't, like, I don't want to say in a bad way. He doesn't take a lot of like pride and like, I want someone to walk into my space and be like, oh my God, your space is beautiful. Guess what, bitches? I fucking care, okay? Not because I like care about people's approval. I have always been like this. I've always been like this. I've always wanted my home to feel like a hotel. I want people to come in and be like, it looks like it was like modeled for like, you know, a tour or something. I care about that. And it's not even because I want someone to come in and like praise me or tell me I have great taste. I just really care about my space. Like, I want my space to look immaculate. I want my space to be clean. I care a lot about that. So obviously the dog thing was very hard because that will shift the space a little bit. But when we were coming to decisions about furniture, Brendan would be fine with something kind of just like normal and nice. Like, he cares about stuff, but not like that much, right? So that would be conversations we'd have of like, he would say, I don't really think we need to spend, let's say, $5,000 on a couch if that was the situation. And I'd be like, would I do this without him? Then it would be like a let's have a go about it. Or if it was something where I'm like, well, I think this would be better for us, but you don't care, then we would prioritize something else. And so there were certain things that we really cared about. One thing that he really cared about was the living room space, and specifically the ottoman. So this was something where, like, I'm just gonna give an example of this. When we were buying the couch, we both really liked a specific couch and we both agreed that we should go as big as possible on the couch. So we agreed on the couch. I personally was like, ottoman will get dirty, whatever. I want to go cheaper on that. Not cheap, by the way. When I say cheaper, I'm talking $1,000 for an ottoman instead of $3,000. I wanted to do that. And he was like, well, I really like this specific ottoman. I really feel strongly about this one. And that's the only piece of furniture I care about in the apartment. So when it came to that, I was like, I would do this if I was doing it on my own. He would have done this on his own. What he would do, he wants this. He wouldn't have probably done it on his own, but we both agreed on that. And so I said, okay, well, in this space, if this is the budget that I want to do, where are we going to compromise on? And we decided on a different rug. So I don't even know. I don't even think this is really helpful from a decision-making process because I don't know what's right and wrong. What I've learned about relationships is that it doesn't have to make sense to anyone else. It just has to make sense to us. And honestly, we have really gotten along in almost everything that we've done. Now, have we bickered a little bit, or have I been like, blah, 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 fine. Same thing with like the apartment layout. It's a 2-bedroom and we have a third kind of bedroom closet situation. He said, I don't care where I have a closet. I just want one solid closet space that I can own. And so what we decided was I was going to give up having a coat closet because I've always had a coat closet in my spaces. And he was going to have the long, gorgeous closet in the second bedroom so I could have the main master closet. And that was like something that, again, he said, I want this, but I don't care what it looks like. So I said, great, I'm going to give you that, but in this way that works best for me. And like, we felt great about that. So it's really been like very interesting making decisions. Same with like the finances of stuff. What I decided in this, because Brendan does not like spending money on certain stuff and I do, he gave me like his budget and I was like, okay, great. I'm going to then say, if this is what you want to do, if I want anything additional or something like extra, I have to be okay with what that looks like. So if it was, let's just say, for example, that we were buying something and he's like, I would spend 1,000 on this. And I was like, well, I would spend up to 3. I'd be okay owning 2K of it. And like, if that was great, great. And if not, I'd be like, great. Okay, well, like, let's split it this way. So we really like have balanced each other well. He's paid for certain things. I've paid for certain things. Most of the things that he's paid for was like, I feel really strongly about this. And I'm like, okay, great. I'm on board with it. You own it. And then the rest of it's like shit that I care about that he doesn't. And we had a budget for the apartment. I think we're going to fall pretty close within that. We'll see. And the rest of it's just like, what then do we own within the apartment? So some of the responsibilities that we've kind of talked about, one is Winnie. So Brendan has to work early, leave early for work. So one of the things that he said is, I'm going to wake up early and I'm going to own Winnie in the morning. And I basically said, then I'm going to own Winnie in the evening. So that's like the agreement we had, so that I can get ready in the morning. I can like do my thing. I can like get a kickstart. Also, he's going to be waking up early. So that was like the agreement we had there. Same with food. He's like, I want to own grocery shopping because I feel like that's an expense that I want to take on. I want to do this, but can you own more of the cooking? By the way, if you would have told me a year ago that I was owning cooking, I'd probably freak out. But here's the thing that I have learned. I am not like a masterful chef, but I am not incompetent either. And so one of the things that we've talked about is I really need like an end point to my day, because right now I work in the same spot as my life. And sometimes what happens is if he is coming home late, I just continue to work. The only reason I end my day right now at a certain time is because he calls me and says, hey, I'm going to come over, and it's 5:00 and he's coming over at 5:30. And I'm like, great, end of the day, done. Now he's going to be coming home later and like seeing me later, which means that if he is going to be coming home later, that just extends my workday. So what I have decided is that I'm going to be putting working out and prepping food as my endpoint to my day, meaning that when I'm done with work at 4:00, I'm going to go work out. Amazing. We have a Lifetime in our building. We just go down and I can go work out, and then I can attach that to, then I come home and I cook, which puts in like a bookend on my day. And that was something that we talked about as well. He's like, I'm going to grocery shop with you. We can plan out our meals together, and then you can execute that. And like, that's what we'll do during the week. And on the weekend, I'm going to own cooking. And like, we just talked about all these things. We talked about a grocery budget. We talked about everything else. It's just been really interesting because I remember, I don't know if any of you guys ever seen the movie Bride Wars. I love Bride Wars. It's my favorite rom-com ever. But the narrator of that movie literally said, like, the week before a wedding kind of dictates like how people act in relationships. And they showed the first couple that ends up together, and they're like, some couples like use this as a time to celebrate and connect, and they feel really strongly about stuff. And then some couples, it brings out like the differences between them and the heaviness between them. And they show the other couple and they're like fighting, and the guy's yawning as she's looking at wet rings and whatever. I feel like Brendan and I have really fallen in like that first category, because do we agree on everything? Do we care about stuff? No. Brendan does not care about certain stuff. Although that man went into Restoration Hardware, and when he saw this fucking ottoman, he got so excited. Let me tell you, he was so happy, so excited. He's like, I want to go to Restoration like every week. This man, you guys, used to wear like a green shirt with purple shorts a year ago. And now he's like, I want to go to Restoration. Also, is there a Banana Republic factory nearby? I want to get some new linen jackets, blah, blah. I don't know what's happening with this man. Anyway, but like, it's been really cool to see us collaborate in this process. And I don't at this point know what to anticipate as far as like heaviness, because like, I don't think we're going to know what we're going to struggle with until we navigate it. And that's also something else I'm really excited about, is the fact that I'm approaching this from the state of, I know that we're going to fight. I know we're going to bicker. I know that some things we're going to be on different pages about, but I also feel like we're both in a really good spot as far as communicating how I feel about stuff, what's important to me, what I want, what I feel like is a non-negotiable for me. that we're entering into this chapter in a really good headspace. And the thing that I want to share with you guys from a relationship standpoint is that relationships are not easy, but when you're with the right person, the things that should be easy are exceptionally easy, and the things that could be hard feel lighter. And, is Brendan perfect? No. Am I perfect? Mostly. But we really, just kidding, truly. I feel like you're just gonna hear that audio and be like, wow, this girl thinks a lot of herself. I am a Leo. Okay, give me some grace. But no, truly, like, we're both not perfect people. And I don't even think there is such a thing as like perfect together, but I do think there is healthy communication and healthy relationships that believe in each other's opinions and values and take those things into consideration. And we are in such a good freaking spot there. And that's really exciting to say, because I am not kidding you guys. When I entered into my single girl era back in 2017 was the last time I dated truly at all. Like, I did not really date in my 20s at all. To now at this point, I just am like, oh, this is what people say when you're like, you're with a good person, you're with like the right person. And I'm really excited about this chapter. Like, I haven't really included Brendan in social media. I haven't really talked about him a ton. I've kind of like lightly hinted at him here and there, or like dropped like little secretive things. He's so like energetic. He's like, put me anywhere, blah, blah, blah. He's like kind of funny. So you'll probably see that side of him coming soon. But it's been really fun to kind of be in this next chapter with him. And I don't know what the right thing to do is, or like protocol is on like moving with a guy or moving with a person or anything else. I'm happy to hear all the feedback and all the tips, but I think it is really exciting to be in a spot where I'm like, I wanted to do life through an adventurous lens my entire life. And now I get to do it with like one of my best friends. And I think it's going to be really exciting. So I want to share the side of you. I want to share something that I don't typically talk about. And I hope it's going to be an exciting thing to like share with you guys how we progress as a couple. I did promise him that he could come on the podcast at some point to give like a behind the scenes on what it looks like to live with Ashley Bennington, because we'll see how that goes. But that obviously will come a little bit later once we have some data under our belt and some experiences under our belt. So I'm really excited for this next chapter. This kind of wraps up our little mini Chicago teaser trailer. Something I'm very excited about is our new space is going to be broadcasted on the podcast coming soon. So you'll see kind of a new setup, a new layout coming soon as we navigate to Chicago. So be prepared for that. But until then, I will see you guys next week.